Good evening, everybody. It's Steve with Real Progressives. Obviously last night represented a truly horrific event. It doesn't matter, quite frankly, at this moment, how or why it happened. What matters is that right now, I believe the count is 58 people are confirmed dead now, and there was over 500 people that were injured. And I think to myself, there's so many things that we talk about on this program that are regarding economics. And I avoid these topics typically because there's other people that like to cover them more than I do. But one of the things that made me go ahead and do this thing tonight, if you will, is that it didn't take 2 seconds, not 2 seconds, before the news had broken out of this, that there were already confirmed stories of false flag, you name it. There was no information, there was no facts, just a whole lot of bullshit. And I'm telling you, you don't have to trust our government. I certainly don't. And you definitely don't have to trust our mainstream media. I know I don't. But when you behave like the caveman who sees the sparkles in the sky and suddenly assigns God status to the stars twinkling in the sky, or you see rain come down, you think somehow or another the gods are raining on you, or you see somehow or another a shooting star, and suddenly you think, oh my God, I've seen something different than what I've seen. And you start creating fairy tales about something you just don't know how to explain. Instead of doing the research, instead of doing the homework, instead of waiting, sometimes valor is found in waiting before you run your yap about proclaiming it to be a false flag and all the other stuff. Sometimes when you wait and you do your homework, you actually retain and regain the title of truth teller. But there is no way on earth that you are able to claim the title of truth teller when before the blood is even dried, before the hearts have even stopped beating, you've already proclaimed it a false flag. It is one of the most disgusting and despicable things that have become part of our so-called movement. Everything that we don't understand, that we can't lay out in facts, we create a false narrative. And that false narrative is every bit as toxic as the lies and the gaslighting that the mainstream media and our own government tell us. When you want to look to alternative media and you want to look around and be able to trust someone to do the homework, you want to trust someone to actually do the homework and the research, and that doesn't fan the flames of bullshit. And you look around at your own media, your alternative media, and all it looks like is a repeat of Alex Jones. If that is the alternative to the mainstream media, we are in deep, deep trouble. We already have enough conspiracies out there that are completely and utterly unprovable, unsubstantiated, etc. Now, don't get me wrong. There are legitimate things out there, and I'm not going to go rattling them off because I don't want to go down a rabbit hole. There are plenty of legitimate things that we know don't pass the sniff test. We know inherently that the Democratic Party rigged the goddamn primaries. We knew that then. We know it now. We have proof. But when you feel like it is okay to claim the death of 58 people before you have any meaningful information, you're able to claim that death as a false flag attack. You have ceased to be a truth teller, and now you are a fear porn peddling snake oil salesman, and you are not a truth teller. You are a charlatan. We depend on each other in this movement to keep each other founded and grounded in truth. It's all we have. It's supposed to be what being a progressive is all about. At least that's what has attracted me to being a real progressive. But I do not find it to be acceptable, nor do I find it to be remotely truthful when people out the gate, before they even have a chance to figure out shit, have already assigned something a false flag. I'm revolted, I am disgusted, and I quite frankly want to disassociate from the world of the false flag. It doesn't mean that there are not false flags. Please do not ever lie, and it would be a lie. Do not lie and say that Steve said there's no such thing as a false flag. That's a lie. There are plenty of opportunities throughout history to see false flags that have gotten us into wars. We can go back to Franklin Delano Roosevelt to see one. Going back to the bombing of Pearl Harbor. There are other things that are out there. Are they substantiated? I can tell you one of them that still sticks out that's full of shit, and that's the whole Federal Reserve crap. Executive Order 11110. Oh my God, that's what killed Kennedy. Bullshit. Bullshit. But I can tell you right now, we spend more time declaring bullshit truth than we do mourning for the loss of many, many people. We have no sympathy. We have no compassion. We jump straight to that thing. It's like mainlining bullshit. You sit there, you grab the old tie, bite it up on your arm, and you shoot it in. You go, a conspiracy I can suckle into. Thank God I was getting bored. Reality was just too fucking boring, huh? Let me tell you something. The idea that 58 people were killed, and it's probably going to go up. That number will probably go up. That should be more than enough of a story for you to latch your teeth into. Did I say it's not a false flag? No, I didn't. Do I know that it's not a false flag? No, I do not. Do I know that it is a false flag? No, I do not. Do I have enough information to make a proclamation? No, I do not. Does anybody have enough information to make a proclamation? If they do, they're fucking lying to you. Alex Jones has got a narrative queued up in his computer every freaking day of the week, waiting for the next bullshit thing to happen so he can go out there and get some headlines. And now we've got the junior varsity running around playing the same Alex Jones games as well. I find it to be shameful. How in the world can we decipher anything as truth when our own quote-unquote alternative media spends all its time doing exactly what Democrats and Republicans do all the time? If the Democrats said it, well, naturally the Republicans are against it. And if the Republicans said it, naturally the Democrats are against it. But in our world, what happens? If there's a tragedy, naturally it has to be a false flag. It couldn't possibly be a deranged person, or it couldn't possibly be a white terrorist from some white cell. We don't know. To say one way or the other, to call it anything right now is premature. You want to fan the flames and call it a white terrorist? Knock yourself out. You want to call him a lone wolf, crazy person shooter? Knock yourself out. Neither one of you know what you're talking about. No one knows what they're talking about. No information, not nearly enough information is out. You got a gun stash in the hotel room, whatever. That's what's being reported. Do we know anything beyond that? No. But every time people run around saying things as if they've, it's like this thing. Hey, did you know something? I found something super special that makes me a little bit cooler than everybody else, and I'm going to let you in on the secret. If you act like that, I got nothing in common with you. Nothing. I have no interest in that. I don't want my kids to find interest in that. I want my kids to be smart. I want them to be thoughtful and think through problems. I want them to substantiate accusations. I do not want them to be idiots, losers, microphone abusers that make false claims that they can't back up. It doesn't mean that something nefarious didn't happen. It means you haven't given it enough time or research to make bold proclamations. Now, we all know that there are tons and tons of NRA enthusiasts out there that love every opportunity to claim that if we had more guns in the streets, this would have never happened. And the flip side is, we know every time one of these things happen, that the old gun control lobby comes running out, and they're ready to take the guns away too. So you got two sides of this game that play every friggin' tragedy for maximum optical gain. Are they false flags? No. They're activists doing what activists do, fighting for their cause. Is it good? Is it bad? You make the call. But I'm here to tell you that if the first thought out of your mouth, first thought out of your brain and leaves your mouth is it's a false flag, check yourself. Check yourself. If everything is a false flag, God, it doesn't mean it isn't, but prove it for fuck's sake. And I don't mean like as in I don't believe you. I mean like you have due diligence. This is called being responsible. And I'm not talking about responsible in a Calvinistic way. I'm talking about responsible to one another in this movement. If I can't trust the information you're giving me, what can I do? What good are you? What use are you if all you do is running around crying wolf? Now, if you do some research and you find significant information that points in a certain direction that bears further investigation, by all means, fucking pursue it. But I lose every ounce of respect for people that out the chute have an answer that it's a false flag. I have a massive amount of disrespect for those who shoot off at the mouth right out the gate that it's a false flag. Do you understand how important it is that if we actually do have a false flag, that we nail it and we nail it good? Do you understand how important it is that if we really have false flags, that we frickin' document the shit out of it and that we bring it out into light? But if you are that person that always is screaming and yelling that everything's a false flag, you do yourself no services, nor do you do any of us a service. It's time to cut the cord from the MSM, sure. But it's equally time to cut the cord from conspiracy peddlers who don't do their research, who sit there and dig up unrelated facts, trying to pull together all sorts of weird shit just so that they can have 5 minutes of FaceTime. I don't know about you, but I take that title truth teller seriously, and I didn't give it to myself. It makes me feel weird when I hear people say that, because you know what? That's a tremendous responsibility. So what are the people that are running around saying false flag, false flag, false flag? Do you consider them a truth teller when there is no evidence to back up their assertions at this point? I don't. I consider them to be frickin' bonkers. I consider them to be irresponsible. And I consider them to be not a friend of our movement, because our movement absolutely is devastated by a lack of credibility. You know what? This is going to suck, but many minorities will be able to relate to what I'm about to say. When you're the out party, when you're the one that is on the outside looking in, you have to sometimes do better just to not be marginalized. You got to do just a little bit better to not be marginalized. And my friends have told me countless times that they've always got to do a little bit better, be a little bit more better spoken, dress a little bit nicer, act a little bit better, perform a little bit better, etc. Well, guess what? We have to do that as an alternative media. We have to do that as people in the progressive movement, because we have already been labeled lunatics. We've already been labeled loons. We've already got that frickin' albatross hanging on our neck. It makes it double important for us to literally be truth tellers and not fan the fear porn and sit there and wave it into the atmosphere so that everybody runs around completely forgetting the important things going on. But for just one day, maybe, wouldn't it be nice to see people act human and mourn the loss of 58 plus people and over 500 injured? I think it might be. If you don't have actionable truth to tell, and you can't validate and verify your words, please don't call yourself a truth teller. Please don't tell people you're a truth teller. It's unfair to our movement, and it's unfair to many, many people who are desperately seeking answers. If you don't know, sometimes just shutting the fuck up is pretty damn good advice. I'm Steve Grumbine with Real Progressives, hoping you take the time to do some research before you fan the flames of bullshit. I'm out of here. Thanks, everybody.